and welcome to another TopStarcraft broadcast. I am Top Madness, I am the voice of TopStarcraft, and I'm here with my friend WinterBorn.
That's right, guys. This is WinterBorn from the Battle.net forums and Clan RH, Relentless Heroes. What's up? Today
we are going to be doing a really cool, really fun, super awesome tutorial on harassment for all you new players.
Definitely, it's going to be awesome because harassment is really a key fundamental to playing with the Terran race because we have so many great harassment options.
Most definitely, I'd like you guys to note the map is Steps of War, and I am the yellow Terran spawning in the top right position. I will be playing against my friend Freeze, the red Zerg spawning in the bottom left position. Steps of War is one of those maps where there are very, very close positions, so you can obviously get a whole lot of different harassment in very quick, very fast, and very effectively.
Definitely, but there's one thing I want to mention before we really get into it, is a lot of people tend to mistake what harassment is. Harassment is something that is designed to set your opponent back and give you an advantage which you cash in later on down the game. It's designed to hurt your opponent. When you take out his workers, it sets him back. He has to spend money to make more workers. He has to spend those resources you can't spend on an army. But it's not necessarily designed to win the game with that harass.
For sure, and I'd also like you guys to know I'm playing against a Zerg player, so the larva mechanic also definitely plays into how the harassment is going to work.
Definitely, the larva mechanic is incredibly important to understand when you play against Zerg, and that is that they build all their units, workers or combat, from the same building, the hatchery, off of one larva.
And thus, if I'm forcing him to build drones instead of combat units, his army is going to be a whole lot smaller. My barracks almost completing, and I am going to be dropping this orbital command right on that 14, very, very standard timing.
Indeed, definitely a good timing. And one thing that you want to know if you're going to do harass is that your timings have to be good. If you wait too long, harass will be ineffective. If you go too soon, you won't have enough, and harass will be ineffective. So the timing is really important when you do this. You don't want to delay yourself, Matt.
Something I will definitely make sure I do not do. We have Freeze going for a 14 hatch, 15 pool, actually. So he's going for a very economic build, getting all the drones out he possibly can before he starts building those army units.
Yeah, this is very common when you're playing against. A lot of them feel that which is actually true. You cannot keep up with Zerg off one base. You have to have two bases, so a lot of them will go for this fast expand, and nailing that fast expand shut is something that Terran has a lot of trouble with.
Most definitely, for sure, one of the things that I was very worried about when I was playing this game, because Zerg is so potent when they get those bases. The extra larvae are a big factor in their gameplay. As you guys can see, I've opened up with a barracks factory, getting that tech lab on my barracks for the fast upgrades. I'd also like you guys to know my base. I have both my gases up and soon to be running, which means I'm definitely going for a 1-1-1 build, very fast tech.
Yeah, I like the 1-1-1 build. I use it almost every game myself, just because of the huge amount of variety that you have to use. I mean, with the tech lab on the barracks, you can build a Reaper. From the factory, you can build Hellions, you can build a Siege Tank. From the starport, you can build a Banshee, you can build Medivacs, you can build a Raven. There's just such a variety you can do that you can't do with something like 3 racks.
Most definitely. One of those builds you guys should all work on learning. I'd like you guys to note I am scouting once again with another worker, sending him across the middle of the map.
Definitely, and this is good because what you see is the fact that he's laying down these 2 spine crawlers next to the entrance into his main, right by his natural. And this is designed to shut down most forms of harass, the bunker harass, the marine rush, and the Hellion rush, actually. It's designed to shut those down.
Exactly, and unfortunately for me, I was planning a Blue Flame Hellion attack, but luckily, because I have the starport, I'll be able to make a dropship and do a Hellion drop.
Definitely, drops are really important. It's essential to know how to react to whatever your opponent does. If he sets up these defenses, and you've already started to make these units, just figure out how to get them in the base, and a medevac drop is always a good option to do.
Most definitely, but there can be drawbacks when you try to drop against Zerg players.
Definitely. The main drawback is the huge amount of map control they have because of Overlord placement. If you look at the map right now, you see there's an Overlord near the right side of your base, pretty much almost perfectly positioned to spot a medevac coming. You've got Overlords on the left side of his base, so it's really hard to get a drop in on a Zerg with him being unaware of it.
And I actually ended up losing that SCV. I was most unhappy, but I think it's always worth it. You know, the 50 minerals is definitely worth the scout.
Yeah, as Day 9 says, scout with an SCV, not a Marine.
Oh yeah, Marines, because the Marines can attack. We had a pause, that's why I'm asking. We are all good.
Also, I noticed a bit of supply blockage going on your part, and that's going to set you back just a little bit. You see you're delayed by about 10 seconds on that Hellion, and that can count. In the higher up you go, the more important those timings are to get just nailed down. So you want to make sure you're keeping up with your supply.
Yep, always something to work on. Make sure keep making those SCVs and those supply depots. They are most important, especially when you're trying to do harassment, because once again that timing is so important.
Yeah, it's always good to make SCVs and build supply depots, but we all make mistakes. We live and learn. Now, this is one thing I like: is your drop goes off, you throw down a bunker. That is very good, because sometimes the counterattack to these harassments can kill you. So you really need to have an extra line of defense like that bunker there.
For sure, and actually that bunker going down right now as the drop is headed off. I also have a Viking being produced, as well as this command center, which was just started moments ago.
Definitely. Now, one thing I noticed is that you are spotted with this medevac as you move out. If you are spotted, you need to go as quickly as possible. Like, you don't need to wait. You need to get that drop off ASAP.
It is true. I'm actually about to run smack dab into this Overlord, and I actually don't do anything for a few seconds. Obviously, was not paying absolute attention. Back at my base, working on my macro, trying to keep those minerals and that gas down.
Yep, we all make mistakes.
Oh, one of those things. Those Hellions are being dropped off as we speak. Even though he did spot the medevac, he was not able to respond with any kind of units.
Yeah, and that's one thing. That's why you wanna go as quick as you possibly can, because you don't want to give him much time to respond.
For sure. I'd like you guys to note I am paying all my attention on these Hellions right now. You know, no macro. Macro's helping a lot, to be quite honest, but because you have to keep them alive to make them effective.
Yeah, definitely. Hellion harass requires a lot of micro, because if you just stop and don't target a unit, they're going to prioritize the queen. They're going to prioritize the roaches. They are not going to be hitting drones, so you have to tell them to shoot the drones, which they're the most effective against.
Most definitely. I'd like you guys to note as well that harass went down. I saw what his army was looking like, so I knew it was perfectly safe to go expand.
Yeah, this is a hard part for most people to get when they're learning to harass, is transitioning from harass into kind of this big push that you're building up for. You know, they harass for too long. They don't know how to transition. It's something that I've had a problem with as I learned to harass against Zerg.
Definitely something that I was focused on, I was thinking about for most of the game, you know, trying to figure out where I'm going to go after this harass, because you can't harass forever.
Yeah, you have to. There are forms of harass you can pull off, but you really need to have a good, solid push to cash in on the damage you've done with the harass. If you just let him build back up, then it's like you did it for no reason.
Exactly, and as you guys can see, this medevac drop leaving my base, going from a different angle, not taking the same route of attack.
Indeed, it's good to it is good to switch it up. You don't want to be going in the same path over and over and over again.
Especially if your opponent does have Mutalisks, he will camp them out and you will lose your drop, which would be very unfortunate.
Yeah, once Mutalisks get on the field, drop play becomes suicidal in the fact that you will lose your medevac, but sometimes it's worth it if you can do enough damage with it.
Yep. And I end up losing one Marine, but forcing all these drones off the line and almost catching that Queen.
Yeah, one thing I noticed is that you don't have concussive shell for your Marauders. That's one thing that you need to get your infantry upgrades when you're playing with them, because if you'd had that, you could have slowed her down and killed her, which would have really maximized the damage that drop could have done.
Definitely something I will work on in the future. Again, because of the larva mechanic, the Queen spawn larva is a very important ability that he would have been lacking.
Yeah, and I like this too. I like the fact that you're moving out Vikings to do some more harassment by sniping Overlords. That is a really good thing to do against Zerg, because you're going to force him to spend a lot of minerals rebuilding those Overlords, and he's going to be supply blocked.
definitely something that is a good plan. A little questionable decision coming up for me in a second to land these Vikings. I do lose